Welcome to the East Baton Rouge Test Security Training. My name is Liz Frischartz, and as your District Test Coordinator, I will walk you through our test security policy. In our Accountability and Assessment Department, Ruth Bennett and Cynthia Sampe assist me with ensuring our district provides the appropriate testing environment for our students. A copy of this PowerPoint and the policy is on our website, accountability.ebrschools.org, and we can be reached at our main office number, 225-226-7625. For this training, you will need a copy of the East Baton Rouge Test Security Policy. When you complete this training, the test coordinator will ask you to sign the test security training sheet. By signing this document, you acknowledge that you understand and will abide by these policies. We will have questions throughout this presentation with special attention to the new procedures for 2014 testing. I will not read the entire policy, but will highlight areas. You are expected to read this policy and will keep the copy given to you for this training. We will now review the test security policy. We'll start with page 1, paragraph 2. Any teacher or other personnel who allows or breaches test security, including unauthorized access to electronic data, shall be disciplined in accordance with the statutory provisions, policies, and regulations adopted by the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education and our East Baton Rouge School Board, and any and all laws that may be enacted by the state. Disciplinary actions include termination, denial, suspension, or revocation of a Louisiana certificate, conference with the supervisor and employee, or a letter in the personnel file. Last year, the state legislature added the second bullet concerning the denial of a Louisiana certificate. Over the next 30 minutes, we will review the procedures that must be followed. Our goal is not only providing our students with the appropriate testing environment, but also educating all school personnel about this policy. On page 1, the third paragraph states, no public school administrator or member of a school board shall retaliate against an employee who in good faith participates in an investigation of testing administration improprieties or irregularities. Retaliation shall include discharging, demoting, suspending, threatening, harassing, or discriminating of an employee who in good faith reports testing administration improprieties or irregularities. Disciplinary actions may include a $500 fine and or 6 months imprisonment. The Louisiana legislature added this policy to ensure a whistleblower would have the confidence to report a situation and not be penalized. This act is not for minor instances, but for an administrative breach where there is intentional retribution against an employee reporting a testing irregularity. If at any time you feel that your supervisor or the EBR accountability and assessment staff are not addressing your concerns, you have the right to call our superintendent or the State Department of Education. Testing summary is on our website and on the inside cover of your test security policy. Students from kindergarten through 12th grade take tests that are part of the Louisiana Educational Assessment Program, commonly called LEAP, and are covered by this policy. This year, Note 2 Park Field Test, the Performance-Based Assessment, PBA, and the End-of-Year Test, EOY, are included in the testing lineup. On page 1, section 1, the policy states who must participate in this training. All EBR employees based at school and administrative sites must abide by this policy. At the district level, we will hold training sessions for all monitors and for district staff who may assist you with the test administration. The second sentence in this paragraph about participation pertains to the importance of following the state's testing schedule. If you give a test this year, you will receive test administration training and be given a manual with a day-by-day schedule. The manuals are posted, and this link can be found on our EBR accountability site under the Test Coordinator link. This schedule and timing are tricky with all of the different vendors. For example, ACT times not only the test sessions, but also the breaks. If not followed, students' tests could be voided. Manuals must be given to the test administrators prior to the testing date, so they will be familiar with the schedule and with the procedures for that test. Roman numeral 2 defines 3 terms. Access to secure test materials means physically handling the materials, not reading, reviewing, or analyzing test items before, during, or after testing. Secure materials include student test booklets, student answer documents. New this year for online tests are secure student passwords that are used to access the testing sites. The passwords must be picked up after each session and not, for example, thrown in the trash. Any other materials that contain test items are student responses. Some of the ancillary material, like math reference sheets, are posted on the web for student use. The big question Does it have questions or answers? If the student writes the computation and answers all over a reference sheet, then it too becomes a secure item. Testing irregularities. Any incident that leads to a question as to the security of the test or the accuracy of the data. We will discuss some examples as we proceed, but it's time for the first set of questions. Read and answer questions numbers 1 through 3. The correct answer for number 1 is A. All employees of East Baton Rouge Parish School System should follow and be aware of test security policy. The correct answer for question 2 is D. All of the above. Breaches in test security may include the letter in EBR personnel file. The letter from the district test coordinator, principal, or supervisor may be written as a reprimand. Disciplinary action could include termination, and suspension or revocation of a teaching administration ancillary certification is possible. And question 3. The correct answer is C. Student math reference sheet. Reference sheets do not refer to a specific question. They are posted online and may be used in the classroom throughout the year. The exception to this would be if the student writes answers or writes his computation on the reference sheet. At that point, it does become a secure item and should be turned in with the student's testing materials. The following, Part 3, we will review carefully as it outlines the critical areas that our test administration must, the do's and the don'ts. On the bottom right of page 1, Part 3, it shall be a violation of test security for any person to do any of the following. Administer test in a manner that is inconsistent with instructions. We need to follow the manual, follow the scripted procedures, and your testing sessions will go smoothly. This is not a time to improvise. B. Give examinees access prior or during testing. Be cautious with the test prep, especially once the testing materials are at your school. Turn to page 2. C. Examine any test item at any time. Allow limited access to test materials. Any pre-coding of test materials must be done with the school test coordinator's active monitoring. With certain accommodations, the test administrator may read sections or record the answers. They need to keep in mind this information is secure. D. Copy, reproduce, record, store electronically, discuss, or use. The policy we are reviewing mirrors the state policy. Some states do release their tests, but not in Louisiana. These tests are secure. E. Coach examinees. What is the difference between coaching and monitoring? Examples: monitoring includes waking a student who has fallen asleep. Active monitoring is walking around ensuring students are on the correct session. Coaching crosses the line to assisting a student with an answer, for example, remarking to a student after he writes his composition, "They asked for 150 words. That looks more like 15 words." Test administrators and proctors should be monitoring, but the crossover to coaching involves giving a student an unfair advantage. F. Provide answers to students in any manner, cues, clues, hints. Policy requires covering of instructional materials on the wall. Clocks and exit signs are not to be covered. Examples: cover posters or word walls in the classrooms where testing takes place. G. Administer published, parallel, previously administered, or current forms of any statewide assessment. Do not use practice material unless you know where it originated. Practice material can include the district practice test, state materials available on their website, or purchased practice materials from publishers. Our worst testing incidents with voiding students' tests have been around this issue. Teacher-made tests should have documentation as to whether the questions and the answers originated. H. Fail to follow security regulations for distribution and return. School administrators have on file the designated secure storage area if there is an extended break, such as lunch. Test materials must be checked in and out. The secure area is not a locked cabinet in a teacher's room while the class breaks for lunch. We will review the mandated check-in and out procedures with all test coordinators. If there's an EBR or state monitor, this process will be observed. The coordinators will have inventoried and organized the materials, and the test administrator should always check their materials to ensure any discrepancy can be addressed immediately. If the test administrator does need additional materials, a proctor or hall monitor should be available. Volunteers and parents are not allowed to have access to test materials or testing sessions. Students should also not transport tests. I. Conduct testing in environments that differ from the usual environment for that student. An example of a different environment could be a combination class. If 4th and 5th grade students are taught together, they cannot be tested together. The state form for alternate environment must be approved, and we will work with the test coordinators to ensure this is complete. Testing sessions must contain students taking the same test, same subject, and the same environment in terms of accommodations. Let's talk about testing accommodations. We have many students testing with individual evaluation plans for ESS students or individual accommodation plans for 504 students. These are part of the student's routine and are not considered different. All testing accommodations mirror what is done routinely throughout the year. We do experience a shortage of space and administrators at some sites. Before assigning a small group to a testing area, give it to the My Kid test. If this was your child, would it be okay to have that testing environment? We all strive to provide the optimum testing environment for our students. J. Failed to report any testing irregularity to the district test coordinator. I will report to the State Department of Education and our superintendent. Your obligation is to report concerns to me as soon as it is discovered. It is not the principals, the monitors, or other district personnel to decide whether your concern should be reported. It is your decision. It may be made in conjunction with others. Just know if you feel uncomfortable making the call with them, call me directly at 226-7625 or my cell phone 572-5720. If you feel the school or district are not reporting, you have the right to contact the state test coordinator or other state staff. K. Participate in, direct aid, and counsel. This catch-all statement encompasses any other unusual circumstances. Note that EBR district monitors will be at every site. Our EBR monitors have been very helpful to schools. They will walk from class to class. State monitors usually pick one class at random and stay for the entire testing session in that room. Do not be alarmed. This is the process for monitoring. The oath of security is in every manual. The oath and the manual restate what we have just covered. On the last day of testing, your coordinator will collect these oaths. All statements should be read carefully. And now it's time for questions 4 and 5. Read questions 4 and 5. The correct answer for question number 4 is false. The manual does not contain specific test questions. Test administrators may have the manual when it is available and are encouraged to write and highlight directions. The manual is available on the DRC eDirect website. We will have a resource slide that directs you to the state website for all manuals. For question 5, the correct answer is B. Which of these is considered a violation? Discussing difficulty levels of specific grade 7 ILEAP questions with a colleague. Test administrators should not have access to or discuss with colleagues or students any test question. Pages 2 to 3 outline investigation and testing procedures. Read them over carefully. An investigation can include interviewing students, school faculty and staff, monitors, proctors, or others involved with the incident. Reports from the school and the district level are then submitted to the state. Page 3, number 9 on the bottom left is in bold. Seating charts are a new mandate by the State Department. If you give a test, the coordinator will include a sample in your handout. This has been an invaluable resource when investigating a cheating incident or missing score reports. Note the picture of the computer lab. With more testing online, be strategic with the seating arrangement so one student does not have access to another student's monitor. The picture on this page is an example of a poorly designed seating arrangement. On page 3, the right column, look at 10E. Only personnel trained in test security administrators shall have access or administer assessments. Non-certified staff, such as aides, may administer a test if they've been trained in test security administration. Often the ESS student's aide has been testing the small group throughout the year and is the appropriate person to assign. 10G, testing shall be done in class-sized groups. K to 3 is 26 students. Grades 4 through 12 is 33 students. With small groups, our district requires the accommodation form to be completed prior to testing. A copy of this form is the last page of your test security handout. Small group test administrators must be familiar with the correct procedures in testing manuals and the student's plans. Page 4 at the top left side, number 11, the Louisiana Department of Education shall establish procedures to identify probable gains in consecutive years, collaboration or cheating. Monitor this carefully. Parents do have the right to see responses if their child's test is voided. When we have reviewed the answers with the state and the parent, the evidence was compelling. Unusual, odd, and identical responses were noted. The state may also void for missing materials. If we are notified by the state or a test vendor that a school did not return all materials, we do come and investigate. Erasure analysis. Excessive wrong-to-right erasures will flag a test. The test administrators receive an excessive erasure form they can complete if a child gets off track. And finally, plagiarism. Students can have access to a book after they complete a session, but access to instructional materials must be limited. Number 12, on page 4, states programmatic, evaluative, or graduation criteria is not met if there is a breach of test security. School districts must ensure that individual student test data are protected. This includes the online programs. When you sign a security agreement, you ensure that you will comply with this FERPA policy. All school and district personnel must comply with the FERPA policy. No names or scores produced from aggregated data of fewer than 10 students should be publicly reported. Be mindful of your data displays. One student is less than 10. Page 5, number 17, states the Louisiana Department of Education staff will conduct site visits as well as EBR district staff. The EBR monitoring form is included in the back of the test security policy handout. We are now ready for questions 6 through 8. Read questions 6, 7, and 8. Question 6. Which of these is a new item to state and district test security policy? A. The correct answer, seating charts for all testing groups. Seating charts are now required for all test groups and for each day per policy. This includes computer labs and small group settings. Sample seating charts are provided. Question 7. Which of these would be considered as an administrative error? The correct answer is C. During the grade 4 LEAP test, the test administrator reads the reading comprehension questions and answer choices aloud. No part of the reading comprehension on LEAP, GE, iLEAP, ELDA, LATU, EOC, including the passage, the questions, and answer choices may be read to students. This would circumvent the purpose of the reading test. In question 8, which is considered a violation of the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA? The correct answer is D. A student's scored written composition and attached rubric posted on a bulletin board, if it has the student's name, should not be posted for public viewing. Pages 7 and 8 define an administrative error and the possible consequences. Roman numeral 7. The administrative errors are made by adults, not students. An example of an administrative error could include an accommodation that was given or not given. An on-level, not an alternate assessment was given. The district, state, or guardian can request a retest due to administrative error. The district fee would be $350 per test per student. On page 8, Roman numeral 9, the state requires that the district be prepared and report emergencies such as fire alarms. Also, with online testing, we have to include our emergency plan to transport students. We recommend going to the Professional Development Center or scheduling a time at another center where the children can be tested. Pages 8 and 9 contain some new procedures for cell phone or electronic device use. No cell phones or electronic devices are permitted in the testing area. Students will have their test voided, their phone viewed in the presence of a guardian. It will require disciplinary action, and the parents of the student are liable for item replacement cost. That's the test item replacement if they feel it has been compromised. What's new about this is the state policy as well as EBR now states that the test must be voided if a student has a phone in their possession. We also have to look at the contents of the phone in the presence of a guardian. The state has not given us a definitive cost as for the item replacement, but it usually runs about $500 per item for a replacement. Now we will respond to questions 9 through 11. Read questions 9 and 10. Question number 9. What is the best way to prevent violations of cell phone and electronic device usage? All cell phones and electronic devices collected prior to the test session. B. Cell phones and unauthorized devices are no longer in possession of students and they cannot be used. Question 10 is a true or false. In the event of a testing irregularity, the first call must be the district test coordinator Liz Frischers or the backups Ruth Bennett and or Cynthia Sempe. The correct answer is true. The Department of Ed and the East Baton Rouge Parish policy requires as the district test coordinator that we should be notified immediately. The school test coordinator and principal may call together. The district test coordinator, the next steps would be to alert the Louisiana Department of Ed and the East Baton Rouge superintendent. As stated previously, if you feel that we do not respond to your concerns, it is your right to call the state or other district administrators to alert them. The final question, 11, is a constructed response worth 4 points. Using the East Baton Rouge test security policies just presented, respond to the following items. You may refer to the policy to form your responses. Question A asks one policy or procedure that's new to test security. There are 3 new items in policy. Any one of these is correct. The seating chart, the student log information for online testing, or the cell phone usage. B. Compare how this new policy was done previously with how it will be conducted during the 2014 spring testing. This question was worth 2 points. The correct answer for the seating chart is required for all testing sessions. The seating chart was suggested but not required in previous years. This year, the test administrator will diagram each testing session with the names of the students present during the session. A seating chart will be created for each day. The seating chart is helpful during investigations of testing irregularities. If you put the student log information for online testing as secure, The test administrator will give the login information to the student on a note card and collect it after the testing session. The note card will be shredded. Procedures was suggested in previous years, but now it is required. Or the third answer, the cell phone or other electronic devices in testing area is an automatic void. In previous years, cell phones or devices were checked. If no test item or message involving tests were found, the school returned the device per school policy. New policy requires the test to be voided immediately, the device checked in the presence of a parent or guardian. In addition, if the test items are found, the student parent may be liable to the testing company for replacement cost. The final question, C, to cite some examples from past experiences, what you've heard to justify your response. At this point, we would accept reasonable answers with justifications from test security policy and relevant examples to policy change. You have completed the test security training. These questions with the answer choices and justifications are after page 9 of the policy. Item 11 is a park-like format, and the scoring guide is included with a justification for this item. I appreciate the opportunity to review this policy with you. This presentation is available with notes on our EBR accountability site under the Test Coordinator link. Our homepage also has parent information, performance scores, and links to all of the sites mentioned in this presentation. Thank you for ensuring our students have the appropriate testing environment that will provide reliable and valid results. Any questions can be addressed to me at our McAuliffe Center, 12,000 Goodwood Boulevard, room 119, or my phone, 226-7625, or my email, lfrischert@ebrschools.org.